stress, anxiety, lack of confidence, lack of clarity, direction, and focus. These are all symptoms of every deadly virus that is snatching so many people's destinies away. Maybe yours, maybe somebody who you know. You want to help them get up out the pit, but the cycle will never break if we continue to let the stories play in our head. The stories that tell us we're not good enough, or that person had this, so it's natural that they got that. I can't have that, or this person treats me this way, therefore I must be right. And you'll never be the person that you were meant to be, or have the things that you were meant to have, or meet the people that you were meant to meet, or help the people that you were meant to help if you continue to allow negative stories play a part in your life. So today I want to talk about the very principle that we can use today to apply to our lives to make sure we can fix that and fix it forever, right? And in order for me to do that, I need to let you know how the mind operates, right? We need to hit it at the root, because if I just sprinkle some sugar on top, that doesn't really take away the taste from the bottom, right? When I used to train full time, somebody would come into me and say, hey, I want to go from A to Z by this date, but these are my limitations. And so let's say the limitation was knee pain, so they couldn't squat, or whatever the case may be. They couldn't run, they couldn't sprint, they couldn't jump. I would take them through a full body assessment. We would go through a movement assessment, and then I'll realize, hey, your pain, the root is coming from your hips. So we'll fix the hips. And when we fix the hips, we'll fix the knee. And that happened like clockwork all the time, right? Because the root in the chain, or the weak link in the chain, needs to be fixed. And sometimes it's not coming from the place where we feel the symptoms. Sometimes it's not coming from the pain point. It's coming from something much deeper. So we want to be able to fix that. And that's what we're going to do with the mind. So when we think about the mind, we think about how we interact with the world, right? We interact mostly with the world through our visual, through our touch, and how we hear, right? How we smell, but mostly through those main three senses, right? And when we do that, we take in a series of inputs every day, all day. We just input. And our brain has to do something with that input. So we process it. We process it in order to be more efficient in this world, and to ensure our survival. So what do? We do three things. We delete, we distort, and then we generalize. We delete the things that are not essential to our survival. We delete the things that really don't make a difference in our day. It's kind of like when you're driving down the road, you don't notice how many red Honda Civics there are on the road until you go car shopping, and you see the red Honda Civic that you really like. Now all of a sudden, everybody got a red Honda Civic, right? So we delete the things that are not in the forefront of our mind, and they're not essential to our survival or to our day-to-day. Then we distort. We distort some things. For whatever reason, we distort them. I believe, mostly to move away from pain and move towards pleasure. Also, again, as a defense mechanism. Then we generalize. We generalize in order to make sure that the next time we encounter this state or this situation, that we can quickly identify how to handle it and move forward. Okay, so let me give you an example. You're having a conversation with your significant other, and she sits you down on the couch, and she's like, hey, listen, I love you, I want to be with you, but all you do is come inside, plop on the couch, watch the game, never help me with any housework. I want you to start pulling your weight. I know you come down to unwind, you want to watch the game. I want to enjoy the game with you. How about we teamwork the house so that we can get to sit down on the couch together and enjoy each other's company? I really want to marry you, but I can't move forward like this. Well, when she came to you, you deleted all of the parts that said, I love you, I want to be with you, because the criticism felt like a defense, felt like an attack. So you deleted the other stuff, and then you started immediately going into defense mode. You distorted what she said and took that criticism as an attack. And now you are now separated. You have given yourself an opportunity to separate from the pain. Then you generalize. All women are control freaks. Nobody wants to be with me. They call me a fat, lazy slob. Nobody said that. But this is what we carry on, right? So think about that in the context of your everyday life, right? You see things, you see situations. We have these implicit biases that we have because we generalize things, right? So when we start to generalize things, we start to create this library, this catalog inside our head that tells us this is how this thing is going to go. This is how this thing is going to go. This is how this is going to happen. And the next time we get to that point, we know how to handle it. And we start to create meaning behind certain situations and things that we see. And we give everything a meaning. And then we start telling ourselves a story about behind those things. And then that story makes us feel a certain way. So it puts us in a certain state. And then that state makes us start to act a certain way, right? And then that the action becomes who we are. And then that cycle repeats itself. So how do we get at that root? How do we cut that tree down and dig up that root? Because if we don't, what's going to happen? We start to dwell on the things that are negative in our lives. We start to dwell on the things that are going to keep us pushed down. We start, and I think it comes unconscious for some people, but we start to dwell on everything that is going negative, because what happens is instead of dwelling on what the solution could be, we start just continuously dwelling on the problem. We instead of dwelling on what the better parts of the outcome can be, we start dwelling on what the worst case scenario is. And then that becomes embedded inside of us, and it becomes how we operate in all different types of situations, because it's now who we are. It's now who we are because we constantly walk around with that story of defeat, with that story of negativity in whatever area it is of that life. And then it becomes your state, and then becomes who you are. And then you go on. But here's the one principle that I would say to apply. We go to Philippians 4. Starting in 6 and 7, he says, to be anxious for nothing, but through all things, through prayer and supplication, make your requests known to God. And in 7, he says, but the peace of God that surpasses all understanding will comfort you. And then in 8, he says, finally, brethren, and here's the key, here's the principle that I really want you to start to build and understand that you can do. He says, finally, brethren, whatever is truth, whatever is noble, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is of good report, whatever is of virtue, whatever is praiseworthy, meditate on these things, or dwell on these things, or think on these things, depending on what version you have. He says one of these things. Do you know what it means to meditate on something? It means to think so deeply on something that it's ingrained into your consciousness. It means to speak or utter, to utter underneath your voice. It means to press into the possibilities or the reasoning of what that thing is, right? So reason out, right? So it can mean all of these things. And when you do that, you start to shift into that mode. And that's why people meditate, in different ways and things like that. But when you start to meditate on the truth, and here, let me help you out with what the truth is. The truth is the objective reality of a thing, right? So the truth is that if you think you are a failure, if you think that you can't accomplish anything new, if you think that where you are right now is all that you should have, I want you to think back to everything that you've already accomplished. Well, I didn't accomplish anything. Well, before you knew how to walk, you had to learn how to walk, and you stumbled and everything else like that. You stumbled, you fell, you got back up. There was no fear behind you. You didn't know how to run. You didn't know how to drive. Probably crashed a few times. Probably failed your license test a few times, but you didn't stop, right? You weren't very social at first. You didn't know how to make new friends, or maybe you were, but maybe you didn't know how to treat those friends, right? You didn't know how to do the activities at your new job. You didn't know how to go through college and get a degree. You didn't know how to do any of the things, but somehow you figured out how to do that. And what was the common denominator behind it? You were either excited, or you saw that the benefit on the other side was greater than the benefit of you staying where you are, right? And that's what we need to do. We need to look at the truth, and then we need to look at the benefits of what it is for me to go forward. So the bottom line is that the truth is that you can do the thing that you have inside your mind. I believe that everybody has something put inside of them, and that dream, that vision, that want, that desire is there for a reason, so long as it aligns with the will of God, right? I'm not talking about stuff that is just completely, next level, but like, you have a desire to go be great. You have a desire to go help create whatever it is for a reason. And since you have that desire for that reason, you have the potential to do it, but you have to look at the benefit of letting go what's in this hand to grab a hold of what you could grab with this hand and with two hands. You have to look at the benefit of moving out of your space. You have to be excited. I always say, get excited about what you're about to learn. Get excited about what you're about to learn. Take the idea that this is going to be beneficial not only for me, but those around me. I have a friend who always says, I've never been the type to be like, blah, 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 blah. And I've always been the type of, and I'm like, well, when are you going to start being the type? When are you going to start being the type to XYZ? When are you going to stop being the type to XYZ, right? At one point in time, you were a stupid little high school kid who had no idea how to get through a class. Now you got your doctorate degree, and you're moving around and you're teaching people these things, but you're still holding on to some things that you held on to in high school. You're holding on to an identity that is no longer really you anymore. And I don't know if it's comfort. I don't know if it's fear of the worst case scenario. But if it's fear of the worst case scenario, that's not really fear. That's anxiety. Fear is the fear of or caution over a real and present danger, right? Or an emotion that you feel over a real and present danger, like a lion running through your door, and you got steak in your pocket. Like that's fear. That's fear. Anxiety is, I don't know what's going to happen. Well, how about you take that anxiety and you flip it over and you say, I don't know what's going to happen. Let's go. Anticipation. Turn that anxiety into anticipation. Start dwelling on the truth. And the truth is that you can. The truth is that you have. And the truth is that you will. But you have to tell yourself the story that you will. Start telling yourself the story. Start dwelling on your greatness. Start dwelling on everything that you can be, the greatness that you can walk in, and watch how your life changes.